Scientists in the University of Richmond and state of Virginia train rats to drive small cars.
Watching rodents drive tiny custom-made cars is not just a circus trick, but it is done in a scientific manner. More details on this later in the news. Good evening, I'm CJ Hero.
And I'm Nina Richie Arago Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. And now for the headlines.
28 million students are back to school amid challenges by COVID-19 pandemic and shortages of classrooms and teachers. Tropical storm Florita intensifies while moving over the Philippine Sea. The Marcos administration has submitted to Congress its proposed 5.268 trillion pesos national budget for 2023. Death toll from Somalia hotel attack climbs to 21. 171 others are wounded. And the daughter of hardline Russian ideologue Alexander Dugin dies in car bombing.
More than 28 million learners have enrolled for public and private schools for the school year 2022-2023. The Department of Education reported that as of 7 o'clock this morning, a total of 28,035,042 learners enrolled as the school starts its classes today. The number of enrollees is more than 100% increase from the school year 2021-2022. The regions that recorded more than 100% enrollees are Region 2 or Cagayan Valley, which enrolled over 113%, Mimaropa with over 111%, and Caraga with over 108%. Also included in the list of regions with more than 100% enrollees are Ilocos Region, Bicol Region, Central, Eastern, and Western Visayas, Zamboanga Peninsula, Northern Mindanao, Davao Region, Soc-Sargen, and Cordillera Administrative Region or CAR.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has welcomed students as the school year 2022-2023 formally opens. Eden Santos has the story.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has reminded teachers and students to continue observing the minimum health protocols as the school opens today for the school year 2022-2023. In a statement, the president said both teachers and students should be mindful to ensure that they remain healthy while learning new things. Marcos welcomed the return of learners to full face-to-face classes after 2 years of online learning due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The chief executive said it has been always his belief that learning will be more effective inside classrooms where students fully interact with their teachers and fellow students. The president added that he has no doubt that with Vice President Inday Sara Duterte's leadership, it is guaranteed that the more than 28.21 million students enrolled in the K-12 system will finally get the quality education that parents want for their children. According to Attorney Michael Powa, spokesman of the Department of Education, there are no major problems encountered on the first day of in-person classes. DepEd earlier said more than 24,000 schools will implement 5 days of face-to-face classes, while over 29,000 institutions will continue holding classes through blended learning until October. By November 2, all public and private schools is mandated to shift to 5 days of in-person classes. Eden Santos reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Vice President Sara or Education Secretary Sara Duterte has inspected the school opening in Bataan Province to personally know the situation on the ground. Mian Corvera has the details.
The Department of Education said the school opening is a success after 2 years of blended learning due to COVID-19 pandemic. Vice President and Education Secretary Sara Duterte said the pandemic or lack of facilities due to calamity is not an excuse for the discovery of wisdom. In her inspection at Dinalupihan Elementary School in Bataan, Duterte talked to the learners and asked them about their situation as the school opens today. As of today, more than 28 million learners have enrolled to private and public schools.
Isang malaking tagumpay para sa mga kabataang Pilipino ang muling pagsisimula ng in-person learning ngayong araw na ito. Isang hakbang na buong tapang na ginawa ng Department of Education sa kabila ng mga hamon at takot na dala ng COVID-19 pandemic.
The Vice President said the government is not ignoring the threat of COVID-19 and other pandemic and diseases, which was the reason why the Department of Health has laid rules to prevent teachers from being infected with the virus and to make sure the children are safe. Duterte insisted that it is necessary to act and get the learners back to school for the children's future and to keep up with the challenges of the world. Besides lack of knowledge, Duterte said most of the children have damaged their eyes using gadgets.
We cannot make the lack of educational infrastructure or the inadequate number of classrooms in certain provinces another excuse. There are no excuses. Hindi na po natin kaya na muling maantala pa ang pag-aaral ng mga kabataang Pilipino. Kailangan na po natin silang maibalik sa in-person learning dahil sa in-person learning makakakuha ng makahulugan, sapat o wasto at dekalidad na edukasyon na kailangan nila para sa kalinangan ng kanilang pag-iisip at kakayanan bilang mga individual na magiging katuwang ng pamahalaan sa pagtatag ng isang malakas na bansa.
The Vice President said the DepEd is still facing big challenges like classroom shortage of 90,000 and school damage by the earthquake in Ilocos region and typhoons in Visayas and Mindanao. Using makeshift tents and gymnasium, the Vice President said face-to-face classes resumes amid shortage in teachers and staff.
Dapat po ba nating iurong muna ang pagbubukas ng klase sa Limasawa Island? Hindi. Mismong ang mga magulang at guro ang nasabi paaralan sa Limasawa Island ang nagsabi na sasabay sila sa pagbubukas ng klase. Hindi sila magpapahuli sa ibang mga paaralan at sa edukasyon ng ating mga anak.
Parents and children alike are happy with the resumption of face-to-face classes.
Tuwang-tuwa nga po siya nung first time yung makapasok po sa school po eh. Dapat po yung nagaganyak na mag-face-to-face po talaga. Wala, hindi naman po. Kumbaga po, nakahanda naman po kami. Kumbaga meron po siyang disinfect po, sarili niya po. Okay naman po yung room nila po talagang ano naman po sila, social distancing.
This grandmother said 2 years of online classes, she noticed a change in the value of her grandson who spent more time with gadgets.
Mas gusto ko na rin po yung face-to-face. Kasi mas marami silang matututunan bukod sa nakakapag-interact sila sa mga batang kagaya nila. Kasi yung sa loob lang ng bahay, masyado silang parang iba yung behavior nila. Diba? Malaking diferensya nung nasa face-to-face na sila kaysa dun sa nasa online. Mas gusto ko na rin yun. Kasi dun sa 2 years po na yun, parang yung ibang apo ko pa, parang nag-iba yung behavior nila. Parang mainitin yung ulo nila.
Even the 6-year-old pupil Mateo is happy to personally meet his classmates.
Sumasaya po. Pag makita ko po, sumasayaw po.
Talaga? Sumayaw kayo?
Pati po nagbibilang.
Nagbilang kayo.
The DepEd ensures that there is alcohol and students and teachers are wearing face masks all the time and students observe physical distancing as much as possible. School canteens are allowed to operate and learners can eat with the others but facing one direction and no conversations when they are not wearing face masks. Mayan Corvera reporting for Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Millions of children in the Philippines returned to school as the academic year started on Monday, with many taking their seats in classrooms for the first time since the COVID-19 pandemic hit. Mayan or Nadine Aguilar reports.
The Philippines is one of the last countries in the world to resume full-time, in-person lessons, sparking warnings that a prolonged closure of classrooms had worsened an education crisis in the country. Children in masks and uniforms lined up for a temperature check and squirt of hand sanitizer at Pedro Guevara Elementary School in Manila, which had shut classrooms since March 2020.
Gusto ko pong face-to-face kasi po maano yung sarap ka-banding mga classmate. Tsaka si teacher po nakikita ko na.
The school has adopted a hybrid system of in-person and remote learning as it transitions its nearly 6,000 students back to face-to-face classes by November, a deadline set by President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. soon after he took office 2 months ago.
Siyempre po, mas prepared namin yung face-to-face kasi po iba kapag kaharap po namin mismo yung mga bata.
Ano difference?
Sa nag-online po kasi kami, marami po kasing mga challenges. Like, minsan nawawalan sila ng connection. Minsan hindi kami naririnig ng mga bata namin. Unlike po na kapag face-to-face talaga, natututukan namin ng husto yung bata namin.
But many students have a lot of catching up to do. Even before the pandemic, 9 out of 10 Filipino children could not read a simple text with comprehension. By age 10, the World Bank and other agencies said in a recent report, only 10 countries were worse off, including Afghanistan, Laos, Chad, and Yemen. Nadine Aguilar, reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSWD, has disbursed 141 million peso educational assistance to 48,000 beneficiaries nationwide. Long queues of applicants rushed to DSWD National and Local Field Office during the first Saturday of distribution of the aid. The DSWD vowed the distribution would be more systematic in the coming weeks after they partnered with the local government units for the cash payout to the qualified beneficiaries. Under the Educational Assistance Program of the DSWD, elementary pupils from families in crisis are qualified to receive 1,000 pesos, high school students with 2,000 pesos, senior high school students with 3,000 pesos, and college and vocational students with 4,000 pesos. The program accepts beneficiaries with up to 3 children per family. The program will last for 6 Saturdays, which began on August 20 until September 24.
The Marcos administration has submitted to Congress its proposed 2023 national budget amounting to 5.268 trillion pesos. Now, what sector receives the biggest allocation and why? Vic Samintak has the details.
The Department of Budget and Management, or DBM, has submitted to Congress the first budget proposal for 2023 of the Marcos administration. The proposed national budget amounting to 5.268 trillion pesos was designed to withstand future risks, challenges, and shocks. Budget Secretary Amina Pangandaman submitted the proposed budget to House Speaker Martin Romualdez with House Majority Leader Manuel Jose Manix Dalipe, House Minority Leader Marcelino Libanan, and House Appropriations Committee Chairman Congressman Elizalde Co. In a statement, the DBM said their proposed spending is 4.9% higher than the current budget of the national government. The amount is unchanged from the proposal of the previous Duterte administration, which said the new government should stick to the budget ceiling for prudent fiscal management. Budget Secretary Amina Pangandaman said the proposed budget would prioritize education, infrastructure development, health, agriculture, and social safety nets. As mandated by the Constitution, the education sector remains to be the highest budgetary priority with an 8.2% increase at 825.8 billion pesos. Infrastructure programs have been allotted 1.196 trillion pesos. The Department of Public Works and Highways will receive 718.4 billion pesos, while the Department of Transportation has been allotted 167.1 billion pesos. As for the health sector, the DBM said government allotted 296.3 billion pesos, inclusive of the budgets of the Department of Health and the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation. Pangandaman said the allocation is 10.4% increase with 29 billion pesos allocation to purchase drugs, medicine, and vaccines, while more than 19 billion pesos has been allotted for the salary and benefits of the healthcare workers. Agricultural sector will be allotted 184.1 billion pesos and the Department of Social Welfare and Development with 197 billion pesos. House Speaker Martin Romualdez said they would try to finish the committee deliberations on the proposed budget on or before October 1. He said they will ensure that every centavo of the proposed budget will be spent wisely to implement programs that will save lives, protect communities, and make the economy strong.
That the House of the People, your Congress, will effectively respond to the needs of the people, especially in addressing the continued impact of the health crisis and to create more jobs and to ensure food security. As such, every centavo of the national budget will be spent wisely.
Vic Somentak reporting for Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Sugar prices could go down by 60 to 65 pesos per kilogram, according to an official of the Department of Agriculture. Moira Encina has this report.
Sugar prices may reduce to 60 to 65 pesos per kilo. Agriculture Senior Secretary Domingo Panganiban said lowering sugar prices is possible if forwarded sugar from authorities in recent rates to various warehouses will be released to market.
Pwede siguro ba 60? So dahil kung yung maraming supply na shipping mo sa Bulacan lang, 4 ang warehouses.
Price of sugar in wet market range from 100 pesos per kilo. Panganiban said authorities have yet to inspect warehouses in Visayas and Mindanao. Aside from sugar inventory in warehouses, supermarket owners have agreed to lower the prices of sugar to 70 pesos per kilo, which could affect the commodities prices in the wet market.
Sa supermarket, pagkabuka supermarket, di ba na lahat?
Panganiban denied that there is shortage of sugar supply in the market. What is lacking is the sugar used commercially by industry or manufacturers requiring sugar for their soft drink products.
Totoong may shortfall.
Totoong may shortfall, pero hindi dapat dito sa commercial ang shortfall. Ang shortfall sa mga industries like Coca-Cola.
Panganiban said that the shortage prompted the need to import 150,000 metric tons of sugar expected to arrive in late October. Panganiban is convinced the warehouses raided by authorities hoarded sugar but said it is not economic sabotage.
That is definitely hoarding. Hindi nila alabas Yung mga bumibili, ayaw pagbila.
Malacan earlier said the issue of sugar shortage is artificial due to traders hoarding sugar for the benefits. Over the weekend, authorities inspected 4 warehouses in Giginto, Bulacan, where they discovered 6,000 bags of hoarded sugar. Moira Encina reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Storm signals have been raised over parts of Luzon as Florita intensified into a tropical storm while moving over the Philippine Sea. According to the Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration, or PAGASA, storm signal number 2 is up over Cagayan, Isabela, Quirino, the eastern portion of Nueva Vizcaya, Apayao, eastern portion of Abra, Kalinga, Mountain Province, Ifugao, and the northern and central portions of Aurora. Meanwhile, storm signal number 1 is up with Babuyan Islands, the rest of Nueva Vizcaya, the rest of Abra, Benguet, Ilocos Norte, Ilocos Sur, La Union, the eastern portion of Pangasinan, the eastern portion of Tarlac, Nueva Ecija, the rest of Aurora, the eastern portion of Pampanga, the eastern portion of Bulacan, the northeastern portion of Rizal, the northern portion of Quezon, including Polillo Islands, the northern portion of Laguna, and Camarines Norte. Pag-asa said so far the center of Florita is or was based 155 kilometers east of Casiguran, Aurora, packing maximum sustained winds of 75 kilometers per hour near the center, with gustiness of up to 90 kilometers per hour. It is moving west-southwest at 15 kilometers per hour. In the next 24 hours, the southwest monsoon will bring monsoon rains over southern Luzon and western Visayas. Tropical storm Florita will continue moving generally west-southwestward or westward in the next 12 hours before turning west-northwestward or northwestward late evening. Next up, traffic accidents in Turkey claims 32 lives. At least 5 people dead after a Shiite shrine collapses in Iraq. And Japan mulls long-range missile upgrades due to China threat, according to a report. Find out more about these stories when Mata ng Agila International returns.
Watch out for the new season of Moments with Gladys Reyes Someru. Soon on Net 25.
Panalo tayo pag together, walang talo pag together. Let's stand together sa Net 25.
You're still watching Mata ng Agila International. The number of civilians killed in a 30-hour siege by Al-Shabab jihadists at a hotel in Somalia's capital, Mogadishu, has climbed to 21. Somalia's Health Minister Ali Haji Adan says the Ministry of Health has so far confirmed the deaths of 21 people. He said 117 people have also been wounded in the gun and bomb attack by the Al-Qaeda-linked group that began on Friday evening and lasted over a day. Emergency workers have been trying to clear the debris from the attack, which left parts of the popular Hyatt Hotel building in ruins. Many are feared to have been trapped inside. Police Commissioner Abdi Hassan Mohammed Hijar says 102 or 106 people, including children and women, were rescued by security forces during the siege, which ended around midnight.
Tragedy in Turkey as traffic collisions claimed more than 24 lives. On Saturday, a truck hurtled into a crowd of pedestrians, killing 16 people and injuring another 29. The country's health minister, Fahrettin Koca, said on Twitter the accident happened in a town in the country's southeast. Koca says the brakes on the truck failed. The crash came a day after a bus and an ambulance collided in Gaziantep province. Local media says that the accident left another 16 people dead.
Rescue operations are underway in Iraq in a bid to find survivors after a Shiite Muslim shrine collapsed, killing at least 5 people, including a child. Between 6 and 8 pilgrims had been reported trapped in the rubble. The building collapsed after it was hit by a landslide. A civil defense official says 3 children have been rescued. Rescue teams worked throughout the night to provide oxygen as well as food and water to some of those trapped. Emergency responders say they are talking to the victims to reassure them. A civil defense official blames the saturation of the earth caused by high humidity for causing sand dunes and rocks to collapse on the building. It was located in a natural depression near the Shiite holy city of Karbala.
The daughter of Alexander Dugin, a hardline Russian ideologue close to President Vladimir Putin, has been killed in a car bombing. According to Russian media reports, Dugin was likely the target, but his daughter Daria Dugina borrowed his car at the last minute. Daria was killed when a bomb placed in the Toyota Land Cruiser went off as she drove on a highway near the village of Bolshy Vyzhyomy, some 40 kilometers outside Moscow, Russia's investigative committee said in a statement. Authorities said Daria died at the scene and a homicide investigation is now underway. Dugin, sometimes called Putin's Rasputin or Putin's brain, is an outspoken Russian ultranationalist intellectual. He is also an outspoken Russia ultranationalist intellectual and has long advocated the reunification of Russian-speaking territories in a vast Russian empire. He wholeheartedly supports the Russian invasion of Ukraine. As of this moment, there was no immediate claim of the responsibility for the bombing.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's admission that he willingly failed to signal a looming Russian attack in an interview with the Washington Post has punctured the bubble of his image, according to the publication. In the interview, Zelensky admitted that prior to the outbreak of hostilities with China or with Russia, he was downplaying U.S. warnings about a looming attack out of fear that Ukrainians would flee the country en masse. If we had communicated that, then I would have been losing $7 billion a month since last October. Zelensky said that, claiming that this deception of his own people prevented Russia from capturing the country in 3 days. Zelensky's revelation that he sacrificed lives for the sake of running the economy was his first serious communication blunder during the conflict with Russia, according to the paper. Before, Zelensky seemed beyond reproach, a national hero to Ukrainians. The Washington Post said that, but his recent acknowledgement has triggered a cascade of public criticism unprecedented since the war began.
The U.S. is planning to supply Ukraine with GPS-guided high-precision M982 Excalibur artillery shells, Politico reported, citing a person familiar with the matter. The shell is equipped with an armor-penetrating warhead and has a laser-guided version. The munitions can be fired using U.S.-made M777 howitzers, which are already being used by Ukrainian troops. According to the manufacturer, Raytheon Technologies, the shells can hit targets at a range of up to 70 kilometers, depending on the artillery caliber. The Excalibur munitions would allow Ukraine to strike targets deep inside Russian-controlled territories. RT News says the report in Politico has come as the U.S. announced an additional $775 million worth of military aid to Kyiv. The Pentagon is also providing Ukraine with 40 heavily armored Max Pro mine-resistant vehicles, which were originally developed for U.S. forces in Iraq. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov previously said that flooding the neighboring country with foreign weapons will only lead to more suffering in Ukraine and will not change the course of the conflict in the region.
A United States governor met with Taiwan's president days after Washington announced trade talks with Taipei in a show of support following China's military threats toward the self-ruled island. Eric Holcomb, the Republican governor of the U.S. state of Indiana, landed in Taiwan for an economic development trip. U.S.-China relations or tensions have risen since Beijing staged huge military drills in retaliation for House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan earlier this month. In her meeting with Holcomb, President Tsai Ing-wen directly referenced Beijing's drills and called for like-minded countries to continue supporting Taiwan. Holcomb said the United States and Taiwan share so many common values and interests and goals. He added that U.S. will continue to seek to build a strategic partnership with Taiwan. Holcomb is also expected to meet representatives of Taiwan's world-leading semiconductor industry before leaving on Wednesday for South Korea. Holcomb's visit comes on the heels of the announcement of trade talks between Washington and Taipei in the coming months, as a senior U.S. diplomat warned Beijing will continue to put pressure on Taiwan.
Japan is considering the deployment of more than 1,000 long-range cruise missiles to increase its ability to counter growing regional threats from China, the local newspaper Yomiuri Shimbun reported. Citing unnamed sources, the newspaper said the country plans to upgrade its existing surface-to-ship missiles to extend their range from 100 kilometers to about 1,000 kilometers, which would be enough to reach Chinese coastal areas as well as the Pyongyang region. It said upgrades would also need to be made to allow Japan's existing ships and aircraft to be able to fire the new missiles, which could hit land-based targets. Yomiuri paper added that the missiles would be deployed in and around the southwestern Kyushu region and on the small islands that dot Japan's southwestern waters near Taiwan. Japanese officials could not immediately be reached for a comment on the issue reported by Yomiuri Shimbun. Japan's military is not officially recognized under the country's post-war constitution, and defense spending is limited to funding nominally defensive capabilities. However, Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has vowed to significantly boost defense spending, which has been kept close to around 1% of GDP. Coming right up, Pakistan police charge former Prime Minister Imran Khan under Terrorism Act. Far-right demonstrators protest outside Massachusetts FBI building. And China induces artificial rainfall to combat drought. We have more news from around the globe when Mata ng Agila International returns.
Alam namin ang iyong pagsisikap. Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo.
This portion is brought to you by
Source Alliance.
More news coming your way here on Batanang Agila International. Extreme right groups demonstrated outside the FBI building in Chelsea, Massachusetts, protesting the agency's raid on former U.S. President Donald Trump's Florida home. About 40 people took part in the event organized by Super Happy Fun America, a local group with far-right ties. They sang patriotic songs and held signs reading, "No trust" and "The FBI is corrupt." The demonstration was peaceful and had no clashes with counter-demonstrators. Since the FBI raid, there have been threats of violence against the agency and its agents. The threats have been online and from Trump supporters. John Hugo, co-founder of Super Happy Fun America, says the FBI should be abolished.
The thing is, we need something to replace this agency because I don't believe it's reformable. It's deep state, it's out of control, and they're violating people's rights, and we're not going to stand for it. And as Americans, you're damn right we're going to protest. We're not going to be intimidated. So if they want to kick my door down today, that's fine.
British dock workers are the latest to walk off the job to back demands for higher pay. It's been a summer of strikes in the UK. Rail workers were off the job for a few days last week. Postal workers staged a 4-day walkout that also included Amazon warehouse staff, criminal lawyers, and garbage collectors. Now it's the workers at Britain's biggest container port, Felixstowe, including crane operators, machine operators, and stevedores who plan to stay on strike for 8 days. The union wants pay hikes at or near the inflation rate, which is around 10%. The group also argues the docks are extremely profitable and can afford to put more money in the workers' pay packets. On the other hand, the port says it's disappointed with the walkout, adding it has already offered the workers an 8% increase in their wages.
Pakistan's police have charged the country's former Prime Minister Imran Khan under anti-terror laws. The investigation comes after the former Pakistan leader accused the police and judiciary of detaining and torturing a close aide. Authorities said a first information report was filed, which ignites the first step of a process that could lead to formal charges and arrest. However, in a statement, Khan's Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf party said the latest accusations against the former leader were frivolous. Hundreds of people also gathered outside Khan's house, vowing to take over if he was arrested. His political allies also warned that arresting the ousted leader would be crossing a red line. If Imran Khan is arrested, we will take over Islamabad, tweeted by Ali Amin Gandapur, a former minister in Khan's cabinet. Meanwhile, Pakistan's media watchdog banned television channels from broadcasting live addresses by Khan, saying he was spreading hate speech. It also said Khan's provocative statements against state institutions and officers are likely to disturb public peace and tranquility. Separately, Islamabad's High Court approved the 3-day protective bail and directed Khan to an anti-terrorism court, saying it was the appropriate forum to address the issue. The case comes at a time of heightened tension between Pakistan's government and Khan, who was ousted from power in April in a no-confidence vote.
International Criminal Court's Chief Prosecutor Karim Khan visits the Kalma camp for internally displaced people in Nyala. The ICC prosecutor and a court delegation will hold several meetings with senior officials, and he will be visiting the Darfur region, the state news agency SUNA said. Sudan has been reeling from deepening unrest, spiraling economic crisis, and a spike in ethnic clashes, including in Darfur, since a military coup last year led by Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan. Omar al-Bashir also remains wanted by the ICC over his role in the 2003 Darfur conflict, which pitted ethnic African minority rebels complaining of discrimination against his Arab-dominated government. Human rights groups have long accused the Bashir's old government and his former aides of using a scorched earth policy, raping, killing, looting, and burning villages. The United Nations says 300,000 people were killed and 2.5 million displaced during the conflict. Khan's visit this year is the third by an ICC prosecutor and is touted to be as essential as the ICC brings the Sudan's former leader one step closer to being tried at The Hague for war crimes of genocide.
A woman believed to be the mother of 2 children whose remains were found in suitcases in New Zealand earlier this month is in South Korea, said Park Seung-hoon, an official at the National Police Agency in Seoul. Immigration records show that the unidentified woman in her 40s arrived in South Korea in 2018, but there has been no record of her departure, according to the official. Park said the woman held Korean citizenship before acquiring New Zealand citizenship a long time ago. However, Park did not name the woman or give any other identifying details and could not confirm whether she was born in South Korea. He added that the woman's whereabouts are unknown at the present. However, their team is cooperating with New Zealand authorities through Interpol. Earlier, the New Zealand police launched a homicide investigation after a family from South Auckland reported finding human body parts in several items they bought in an online auction from a storage facility. According to the police, the children, likely to have been between ages 5 and 10, may have been dead for a number of years, perhaps 3 or 4 years.
Taco Bell is testing a plant-based meat substitute made from soy and pea protein at its restaurants in Birmingham, Alabama. It's the third trial of proprietary meat alternatives made by the Yum Brands chain since it announced a partnership with Beyond Meat, which hasn't resulted in any public tests yet. A representative for Taco Bell said the new meat alternative is an improved version of the one tested in the Crevitarian taco. Taco Bell also said that a Beyond Meat product will be available before the end of this year. Despite being a longtime favorite of vegetarians, Taco Bell took a while to embrace plant-based meat alternatives that more closely resemble meat. According to the chain, its latest plant-based meat alternative is inspired by classic Taco Bell flavors. The crispy melt taco features a fried white corn shell tortilla filled with shredded cheddar, mozzarella, Monterey pepper jack, warm nacho cheese, lettuce, tomato, sour cream, and the new soy and pea protein, which will be sold for $2.49. The alternative will also be featured in Nachos Bel Grande, the chain's take on loaded nachos.
Bloomberg reported a reduction in the world's cotton stocks due to extreme weather conditions. Heavy rains and pests have reduced the cotton harvest in India so much that the largest producing country is now forced to import supplies. In the United States, the commodity's biggest exporter, a worsening drought has reduced production to its lowest level in more than a decade. And in Brazil, the world's second biggest exporter, extreme heat and drought have already cut crop yield by nearly 30%. Analysts said this confluence of extreme weather events has sent cotton prices skyrocketing by 30%, the highest level since 2011, threatening to raise the cost of everything from T-shirts and diapers to paper and cardboard. Now, they are already forecasting higher cotton prices in the coming months due to crop shrinks, which will lead to a drop in demand due to a slowdown in economic growth.
China's state broadcaster releases images of meteorological staff shooting catalysts into the cloud in an attempt to induce artificial rainfall to combat drought in the central Hubei province. Local authorities rushed to water farmlands and deliver water to village residents as long droughts across China have withered crops and dried up reservoirs. Officials say that the Yangtze River, Asia's longest waterway, is now at record low levels. As some regions continue to experience less than half the usual rainfall, authorities say hydropower reservoirs are also currently down by as much as half. At the same time, power companies are under extreme pressure as demand for air conditioning rises. The National Climate Center also confirms that the current heat wave in the country, which is now at 2 months, is the longest record in China. Coming up, rats learn to drive cars in research study. Dennis Rodman gets permission to visit Russia for Griner's release. And panda at Washington, D.C. Zoo celebrates second birthday. Mata ng Agila International will return after this quick break.
Welcome sa aming bagong tahanan. Say hi, Tami.
Hi! Bossing Poleng, meron akong kwento.
Yay! Story time! Itago nyo na lang ako sa pangalang Jojo.
Jojo nga po pala. Boyfriend ko.
Good evening po. Ikaw!
Puyat mo nga dyan!
May bago tayong tambayan.
Dito lang sa Net 25.
Panalo tayo pag together, walang talo pag together. Let's stand together sa Net 25.
Scientists at the University of Richmond in the U.S. state of Virginia are giving driving lessons to rats. Take a look. The rodents are placed in custom-made cars. They are taught to drive forward and backward using tiny pedals. The scientists used Fruit Loops as a reward for the rats. But why bother doing this? Neuroscientist Kelly Lambert says the experiment could provide clues about how to treat mental illness. She also says rats that learned to drive had biomarkers of greater resilience and lowered stress. Lambert compares it to humans mastering a new skill. The neuroscientist explains that one of the failings of modern medicine has been its inability to cure mental illness through drugs, and she hopes her research will change that. Cineworld has confirmed it is considering filing for bankruptcy in the U.S. as the cinema chain continues to struggle with $5 billion worth of debt. It said it was looking at various options for how to reconstruct or restructure the business, including a Chapter 11 filing in the U.S. This allows a company to continue to operate while it negotiates with its creditors. However, the company would not comment on whether it was also considering filing for bankruptcy in the UK or what the potential impact could be on its 4,600 employees there. Cineworld insisted its cinemas remain open for business and that there would be no significant impact on jobs. Currently, the company has a market value of around $69 million, but is carrying close to a $5 billion of debt aggravated by the COVID pandemic.
A popular rapper and a restaurateur have teamed up to replace Starbucks in Moscow with a nearly identical operation called Stars Coffee. The coffee menu judging by the company app introduced a day before the store's former opening looks familiar to any Starbucks customer. The logo also looks like a Russian twin to the Starbucks mermaid, now wearing a traditional headpiece known as a kokoshnik. Starbucks said it had no comment on the new stores. Seattle-based Starbucks was one of the most visible of the wave of foreign companies that pulled out of the Russia or suspended their operations in response to Russia's military operations in Ukraine.
Igor Coelho grew up in a Rio favela and is now badminton's world number 51. Igor Coelho grew up avoiding bullets in his Rio favela. Now his exploits on the badminton court are inspiring Brazilians to pick up a racket and try the sport themselves. Coelho learned to play badminton on a dirt court set up by his father, and it took him all the way to the Olympics in Rio in 2016 and again 5 years later in Tokyo. Coelho's PE teacher, Sebastião Dias de Oliveira, started a badminton program in the drug-plagued Chacrina favela in the late 1990s. He used samba dance steps to develop the player's footwork, and his son Igor progressed quickly after taking up the sport at the age of 3. Many of his friends died or got mixed up in drugs, but Coelho persevered and became Brazil's first ever Olympian in badminton at the 2016 Rio Games. The 25-year-old Coelho and the world's number 51 has established himself at badminton's top table, and he says more people in his football-mad nation are aiming to follow in his footsteps. Coelho said he can now see a lot of kids who are very motivated to play with the best players in the world, as they also aspire to achieve Coelho's dream. Now he lives in Denmark and has trained in France and Asia, something once unthinkable for a Brazilian badminton player.
NBA Hall of Famer Dennis Rodman will potentially visit Russia to help detain the WNBA champion Brittany Griner. In an interview, Rodman claimed he got permission to go to Russia and negotiate the release of Griner, who has been detained due to alleged drug charges. Griner's team has appealed while U.S. and Russian diplomats discuss potential prison exchanges. Rodman has had a history of getting involved with international affairs to represent the U.S. He has been to Pyongyang several times to meet its leader, Kim Jong-un. Rodman also claims he knows Russian leader Vladimir Putin too well. Rodman is a 5-time NBA champion who played for the Detroit Pistons and Chicago Bulls. Hollywood stars Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck married again in Georgia at their $8.9 million plantation estate. The ceremony was attended by family and friends with studded with A-list celebrities. It was a 3-day celebration in the second marriage ceremony for the power couple. Lopez wore a stunning white gown made by Ralph Lauren, while Affleck wore a matching black and white tuxedo. The location of their big bash is a sentimental one. Affleck purchased the home, which is on 35 hectares of land, in 2003 when he and Lopez dated for the first time. However, the couple ultimately ended their relationship in 2004 and only reunited last year. The splendid wedding in Georgia of Affleck and Lopez is reported to have cost a whopping $400,000.
In celebration of 100 years since the discovery of the tomb of Egyptian King Tut, the National Geographic Museum in the U.S. Capitol presents an immersive experience that includes cinematic storytelling and projection imagery. Jeff Sanidad reports.
Imagine 100 years ago, Howard Carter holding a candle when he poked at the wall. When someone says, "Can you see anything?" and he says, "Yes, wonderful things." What was discovered then was the only intact tomb ever discovered to this day from the ancient Egypt, containing over 5,000 of what some considered the most significant artifacts ever discovered. This is King Tut, the immersive experience, an inside look from the National Geographic Museum in Washington, D.C. In celebration of the 100th year of the legendary discovery of the tomb of Tutankhamun in Egypt's Valley of the Kings, National Geographic Museum presents the immersive experience. Visitors will experience a cinematic storytelling and soaring projection imagery as they venture into the boy's king world who ruled Egypt from the age 9 to 19. Tutankhamun, or most commonly known as King Tut. Journey to the modern-day Egypt and see wonders of the ancient temples at the Karnak, to see the monuments from the Great Sphinx, trip down to Nile River, and experience the history as it comes to life as the sun rises above the pyramids of Giza, filling the sky with vivid colors. Step inside the tomb and see the legendary sarcophagus recreated using modern and state-of-the-art tools. Make your way through Tutankhamun's life to know his family, his unexplained and mysterious death, and many more by way of entering galleries starting from the discovery of King Tut's tomb. We are joined right now with the Vice President of Public Programming and National Geographic Museum Director, Catherine Kian.
For anyone that's a fan of ancient Egypt, the Beyond King Tut exhibition is an opportunity to travel back in time to pharaonic Egypt and experience one of the most famous pharaohs of all, King Tutankhamun. The young boy king is probably the most famous figure from ancient Egypt, and the discovery of his tomb was 100 years ago this November. The goal of the exhibit is to use new projection technologies to truly immerse our visitors in a subject that we know that they're very crazy about. In many ways, we want people to feel as if they've gone into a time capsule and gone back in time to a period in our shared history, which still resonates today. For National Geographic, this exhibit is an opportunity to experiment with media, images, and video from our impressive archive, and also to create CGI and animation experiences that didn't exist before about one of the most popular narratives from our history.
The exhibit is open until February 2023. Jeff Sanidad, Washington, D.C., Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
A birthday celebration at the Smithsonian National Zoo in Washington, D.C. Panda cub Xiao Qi turned 2 on Sunday, and a crowd assembled outside his enclosure to sing happy birthday. Xiao Qi even had a special fruit-sickle cake made out of apples and carrots. After the party, he was seen taking a nap. The panda cub was born during the pandemic as the result of artificial insemination of his mother, Mei Xiang. His name, Xiao Qi, means little miracle in Mandarin Chinese. To those who missed the party, do not worry, because you can watch the pandas on the zoo's Giant Panda Cam.
Now, what historical events happened on this day, August 22nd? Let's take a look. In 1864, 12 nations signed the First Geneva Convention, establishing the rules of protection of the victims of armed conflicts. In 1989, the rings of Neptune were discovered. NASA's spacecraft Voyager 2 was approaching Neptune when images revealed a faint ring circling the planet. And in 2019, Russia launched a robot called Fedor to the International Space Station to work as a remote operator and carry out various tasks autonomously. Fedor is a Russian-given male name and an acronym for Final Experimental Demonstration Object Research.
And to help start your week, here's a quote from Kobe Bryant, an American professional basketball player. Everything negative, pressure, challenges is all an opportunity for me to rise.
And that kind of attitude is what separates the legends from the rest of us.
That's right.
And that's a wrap for tonight's news. Catch the latest updates on our social media channels. I'm CJ Hero.
And I'm Nina Richie Alago Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.